Well, hey, and welcome to day 15 of walking through the Gospel of Mark together. Today we're in chapter 4. We're actually going to be finishing up chapter 4, reading verses 35 through 41. And it's a story that if you haven't heard it, it's a great story and really remarkable, really fun story. Jesus is with his disciples and they decide to cross the lake. And so he says, let's cross to the other side of the lake. They all get in a boat, and there's a storm that stirs up on a lake. And I'm assuming it's what we would call Tiberias, or what the Bible would call the Sea of Galilee most of the time. And so this is not just a little storm, it's a real storm. It says, soon a fierce storm came up, high waves were breaking onto the boat, and it began to fill with water. And so the disciples were very, very fearful. And that's saying something, because these guys lived around this lake all the time. Many of them were fishermen, and they would have gone out on the lake every day for their jobs. And so for them to be really fearful, it really does mean something. And meanwhile, of course, Jesus, very funny. In verse 38, it says he was sleeping in the back of the boat with his head on a cushion. The disciples woke him up saying, "Teacher, don't you care that we're going to drown?" And it's very interesting that they immediately go to care. Like his sleeping, his situation of just being there in the back of the boat and not intervening, not panicking, they interpreted that as apathy, as a lack of care on the part of Jesus for them. Jesus woke up and he rebuked the wind and the waves. He says, "Silence, be still." Everything gets calm. Crazy. And the disciples go from being super fearful of what was happening outside the boat to actually being afraid of what was inside the boat. It says the disciples were absolutely terrified, not of the storm. It says, "Who is this man?" They asked each other. "Even the wind and the waves obey him." And that makes a lot of sense. Like, of course, that would be scary. They've never encountered anything like this in their lives. They think they're following a religious teacher, and all of a sudden they're thinking, okay, who is this that he can silence the wind and the waves? But Jesus goes to an interesting spot, and I think this is where it connects with us. He asks them, "Why are you afraid?" This is just after he silenced the storm. He says, "Why are you afraid? Do you still have no faith?" And I think for us, when we go through difficult times in our lives and we're praying and we're asking God for help, so often we go right where the disciples did. We assume God doesn't care, or we assume God doesn't see us. Is God asleep? Is he in the back of the boat asleep? Or we think maybe that God doesn't have the power to intervene in our circumstances, to change whatever it is that we're facing. He's saying, don't you have faith? Like, please believe that I am here with you, that I see what you're going through. Maybe that I'm already orchestrating an intervention. I'm working everything together for the good of those who love me, who are called according to my purpose. And that's you and I. Like, we have to trust. And Jesus, that's where he goes every time. It's like, it's the faith. Do you have faith? And so for me, for you, like as you're going through whatever you're going through, whatever storm it is, not to diminish that or say it's not real or it's not significant, but just to say, you know what? Jesus does see you. Can we have the faith to believe that he's working things out for our good, that he's got it under control? So God bless you. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.